The future of DC has just been rewritten in 30 seconds. Episode 3 of My Adventures with Superman didn't just introduce Superboy, but it showed us a Lex Luthor you never imagined seeing. A hero sacrificing everything. But the dark secret behind this DC Terminator is what should really worry you. For those who are following the season, Episode 2 ended with Lex Luthor publicly debuting Cyborg Superman, a calculated show of force to tarnish Clark's image in the eyes of the public. Hank Henshaw appeared at Comic-Con with the uniform that profanes Superman's symbol and the LexCorp logo on his chest, destroying the Toyman's robot while the press filmed everything. Episode 3 picks up exactly from this boiling point and pushes every conflict of the season a few steps further, with an ending that completely rewrites the scope of what this season can be. The episode opens with Hank violently beating up a street mugger. He's not arresting him.
He's not handing him over to the police. He's punishing him with sadistic satisfaction, as if every punch were a message for his own ego. Hank has always been narcissistic, but almost dying during Brainiac's invasion turned that into something much more dangerous. He uses the LexCorp symbol as if it were a license to hurt, judge, and execute whoever he decides deserves it. This becomes even clearer when he tries to kill Silver Banshee and her gang after an operation where they stole LexCorp technology. Silver Banshee is a character with an interesting history in this series. Superman convinced her and the group to abandon the Suicide Squad in the past, and they even helped fight Brainiac. But the hero life doesn't pay the bills. They went back to crime, and now Hank is hunting them down with lethal intent. Superman arrives, saves the group, and tries to warn Hank about the limits of delivering justice. But what comes next reveals Cyborg Superman's greatest weakness.
During the confrontation, Silver Banshee uses her sonic screams against Hank, and the effect is disturbing. The skin is literally ripped from his face, exposing the metallic structure underneath. It's the first moment where the audience within the episode clearly sees that this isn't a hero, it's a machine. And this could have serious consequences for Lex's public relations plan, because the narrative of an enhanced human protecting the city crumbles when the robotic face is exposed to cameras and witnesses. But the most important moment of Hank's arc in this episode isn't that. It's what happens next. Lex and Slade remotely shut Hank down in the middle of the action, completely immobilize him, and summon him back to the lab. And when Hank arrives furious, Deathstroke tries to intervene, but clearly Hank is much more powerful. Lex then uses a kill switch that shuts Hank down instantly. A single button. It's a silent death threat that establishes who really rules this relationship. Hank wants agency. He wants to be an instrument of virtue by his own choice, not a tool controlled by someone else. And this scene proves that as long as Lex has the kill switch, Cyborg Superman will never be free. This is a narrative ticking time bomb that will explode at some point this season. While Superman deals with Hank's chaos, Jimmy Olsen makes one of the worst decisions of the season and signs up for a scientific matchmaking program called W.O.R.M.S, an acronym for World Organization for Romantic Matchmaking Science.
Anyone who knows DC in the comics will notice the reference. Originally, W.O.R.M.S was an organization of mad scientists that Lex used in his schemes. Here, the show transforms it into something much funnier, a company run by Tazala and Zazala, a queer couple who wants to help everyone find true love. Jimmy's date is a woman named Gigi, and right away, things go off the rails. Gigi is interested in him, but from a purely scientific perspective. She wants to know how interstellar travel and kryptonite exposure affected his physiology. And as an investigation method, she turns him into a werewolf. Yes, Jimmy Olsen turns into a werewolf during a speed dating session. Seriously, Jimmy?
Furthermore, the episode also snuck in a hidden joke that only adults will catch. Right when Gigi sort of lays out on the table to attract Jimmy, he quickly looks down, looking a bit embarrassed. This actually reminds me a bit of the Justice League animated series from the 2000s, where they were always slipping in those implicit adult jokes too. The situation worsens when an injection to reverse the effect completely messes up Jimmy's physical structure, leaving him practically without a skeleton. He tries to call Clark using the Flamebird watch, worried more about his online reputation than his own physical integrity, which says everything about his priorities at this moment. And then Gigi reveals who she really is, Giganta, the Distortionist, the character known to DC fans as the giantess who frequently faces Wonder Woman. She grows to an enormous scale, grabs Jimmy, and starts climbing the Daily Planet like King Kong, with Jimmy in place of Andero. Clark sees the chaos from his apartment window, puts on his uniform, and tries to reach Jimmy. The rescue in the end ends up coming from Tazala and Zazala, who use robotic wings to fly up to Giganta and revert her to human form with an injection. Gigi, like so many others throughout the series, ends up falling for Superman. He, naturally, refuses gently, because he's the kind of guy who is faithful and careful in everything. But while Jimmy was almost losing his skeleton, Clark was about to discover that his biggest challenge wasn't a giantess, but a trauma from Lois's past that could prevent the future he dreams of so much.
Lois is afraid of the future, but you don't need to be. If you want to understand where this plot of Superboy and Bald Lex comes from, the volumes of the Reign of the Supermen phase are in our showcase. It's the base of everything we are seeing here. I left the best volumes through our Amazon showcase in the description and in the pinned comment, and also in the YouTube shopping showcase here, which are those products that appear here in the lower corner of the screen. And if you want to follow this season episode by episode with complete analyses like this one, subscribe now and activate the bell. When the next episode drops, the analysis will be here. Returning to the episode, while Jimmy navigates his romantic disaster, Lois is dealing with her own. Clark arrived home from Comic-Con with a model farm he bought at the event, this being literally a mock-up of the future he imagines for the two of them. He wants a rural property, a dog, children, while Lois wants to live in the present moment without thinking about what comes next. The episode deepens the reason for this. Lois grew up following Sam from military base to military base, without stability, without roots. Her mother got sick and died in this process of constant instability.
Lois associates long-term commitment with inevitable loss, and this trauma still governs her reactions, even after having forgiven Sam and rebuilt her relationship with him. Clark sees all of this clearly, and instead of pressing, yields. Brunch is great for now. This type of practical empathy is what makes Clark's character work so well in this series.
Kara, for her part, became Lois's emotional mentor in this episode, and their mall scene is one of the best moments of the episode. They stop at a record store, listen to Black Canary music, and Kara literally begs Lois, in the form of a musical number, asking her to embrace love, hope, and faith in Clark. It's the type of scene that the show does very well, taking something that could be heavy and transforming it into something light and memorable. But Lois is also trying to be a mentor for Kara's romantic situation, with questionable methods. She creates a dating app profile for Supergirl without consulting her properly, with the declared objective of making Jimmy jealous enough to finally own up to what he feels. The plan is manipulative, but Lois's logic makes sense. Nobody here seems capable of having a mature and direct conversation about what they want. And, of course, we can't fail to mention the first mention and possible design of Black Canary from this universe of My Adventures. You can feel that they want to expand this universe little by little with other heroes besides Superman, and I really hope that happens, so that maybe in a while we can have a Justice League animation from this universe. I would enjoy it a lot, and I'm rooting for it. In the midst of all this, Clark finds a dog during a rescue operation of a burning boat that hosted an animal adoption campaign. He almost calls the dog Krypto at the exact same instant. His immediate plan is to adopt the animal, let Lois get attached to the dog, and use that as an entry point to the family life he wants to build. He even jokes with the name Bark Kent as an alternative. But by the look of the dog and the way the scene is built, there's no doubt. This is Krypto arriving in this universe. And the curious thing is that one of Krypto's creators is Otto Binder, who has already been honored this season with the scientist who tried to create Bizarro with kindness. The show is weaving these references carefully, and Krypto seems to be the next piece of this puzzle.
And now we come to the moment that completely redefines the scope of this season. The final act of the episode makes a time jump to the future, and what we see there is disturbing.
A bald, disfigured, and clearly aged Lex Luthor is leading a resistance against a robotic apocalypse. The machines that dominate this future are based on the Martian drone that Lex himself created to hunt Bizarro in the current season. In other words, the robots that destroyed the world in the future were created by Lex himself in the present. He planted the seed of his own ruin. In this future, the robots killed Jimmy and Steel before reaching Lex. And in his final moments, a Lex who clearly changed sides places a time travel gauntlet on the wrist of a young man named Superboy and sends him back to the past before being turned to ashes. It's a direct reference to the Terminator franchise, with clear echoes of Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame in the look of the gauntlet and in the scene of Lex turning to dust.
And of course, we also can't fail to mention X-Men Days of Future Past and Dragon Ball as well, where we clearly see an inspiration from future Trunks, just as Kara has Android 18 as one of the influences on her character design. The color palette changes completely, going from the vibrant blue of Metropolis to a reddish tone with a sense of danger that screams future Trunks. And if you blink, you miss the visual reference to the Infinity Gauntlet that Lex uses.
The credits identify this Superboy as Jon Kent, but the episode plants the doubt on purpose. Visually, he looks a lot like a young Clark, which would be consistent with Jon Kent being the son of Clark and Lois in the future. But there is also the possibility of it being Connor Kent, the clone that Lex created from Superman's DNA in the comics, who was a central character in Young Justice and Titans. Both readings make sense within what the show has built up to here. If it's Jon Kent, we are seeing the son of Clark and Lois needing training in the present, which mirrors the premise of Superman and Lois. If it's Connor, the Lex of the future might be using the clone he created as a weapon of last hope, in a moral turn that would be even more powerful. What we know for sure is that this Superboy was sent back to discover how to prevent the end of the world, and that the army of robots that dominated the future was betrayed by the very Lex who created it. Why did these machines turn against him? What made Lex turn to the right side? These are the questions that this season will need to answer.
Since it's not all roses, the episode leaves two narrative problems worth mentioning. The first is Kara flying in public, in uniform, as herself, while Lois walks beside her. Anyone with basic attention who sees this, after a simple search about who Supergirl's friends are, will connect the dots and discover Clark's identity. Again, we see this carelessness from Kara, and nobody talks about it. The second is Jimmy calling Clark in the middle of battle, near Hank, asking for Superman's help. Hank and Lex have enough intelligence to piece together that Jimmy, Superman's known best friend, is talking to Clark and asking for Superman at the same time. These are two different characters answering the same call. This is practically a confession. The show seems aware of this risk because it mentions it explicitly through the narration, which suggests that these security flaws will have real consequences in the next episodes. Sam Lane is still trying to convince Superman to work as a government agent. Lex and Slade have experiments in the lab that we haven't seen yet. And Hank, frustrated with Lex's Killswitch, might be looking for allies. Team Kent is leaving tracks everywhere at a moment when it would need to be invisible.
This was the complete breakdown of Episode 3 of My Adventures with Superman, Season 3. Now I want your opinion in the comments. Do you think Superboy is Jon Kent, Clark and Lois' son? Or is he Connor Kent, the clone that Lex created? Argue your theory down below, because this discussion is going to give us a lot to talk about. If you missed the breakdowns of episodes 1 and 2, they are appearing right now for you. And subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any analysis of this season. Until the next episode.